Hello and welcome to another episode of the DVD Graveyard. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at 13 Ghosts from 2001, directed by Steve Beck. And I know in my last video, in Black Christmas, I said that was probably going to be my last video for the year, but I watched this movie last night, and I'll really only watch this movie every once in a blue moon, to tell you the truth. It's very few and far between when I actually put this movie on. But every time I do watch it, I remember just how much I like this movie and how much it was a big part of my childhood growing up. So after I watched it last night, I was like, I've got to talk about this. I was like, if I don't talk about this movie right now, today, then I was like, it'll just get lost in the mix, and I probably won't talk about it for another year because I probably won't watch it for another year. So that's what we're doing. So like I said, this movie was directed by Steve Beck and released by Dark Castle Entertainment. So Dark Castle released in the early 2000s. They did a lot of remakes of, older, horror films. This being one of them. I haven't seen the original 13 Ghosts, so I couldn't really say much about it. But other notable films that they've done is they did House on Haunted Hill, from I think the year prior to this. They did Ghost Ship, which I don't think Ghost Ship is a remake. I think Ghost Ship's an original idea. That came out the year after 13 Ghosts, and it was also directed by Steve Beck, which... Ghost Ship kind of gets a bad reputation, but I actually enjoy that one too for what it is. And then, of course, they did House of Wax, a couple, I think maybe the year after that or a couple years after that. But so that was Dark Castle Entertainment. They just did a lot of these just kind of amped up sort of remakes of kind of classic movies like this. And this is definitely one that stands out in the bunch. Like, I definitely like this a lot more than I enjoy Ghost Ship. Even though I do enjoy that movie a lot, like I said, I like this better than House on Haunted Hill. House of Wax is fun, but I like this one more than House of Wax. I mean, I think it's just because of kind of the kind of plot details that they put in there, and the backstory and the lore that they kind of put in with the ghosts, which we'll kind of touch on that a little bit later. And I think that's kind of the main thing that most people remember about this movie, honestly, is just that kind of lore that comes with the ghosts. But like I said, we'll get to that in just a little bit. And like I said earlier, this is one that I grew up watching. So I have a really weird kind of mixed... I don't really want to say love-hate relationship with early 2000s horror. I mean, because I guess it kind of is a love-hate relationship, because it was in that weird time. That's to me, mid to late 90s to early 2000s. That's when CGI for stuff like this was not great. But practical effects had really peaked. Like, we were getting really, really good practical stuff. And of course, there was good CGI for the time. Like Jurassic Park, was kind of a landmark, CGI film. But of course, that was a big budget movie. Whereas this is something that, was not really going to get that much funding, because Dark Castle's kind of was sort of like an independent sort of distributor. But this movie, like I said, it's one of those that I forget how much I like it until I actually sit down and watch it again. Like, if you just kind of ask me in conversation here and there, I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, I like 13 Ghosts. I remember watching that when I, growing up and stuff. But then when I actually do sit down to watch it, I'm like, I love this fucking movie. Like, I always forget how fun this movie is. And that's kind of the best way to describe it, is it's fun. It's just got a lot of stuff going on. You're kind of in one location the whole movie. It's got this really nice kind of haunted house vibe to it. So this is one that, like I said, I grew up watching, and I remember this movie just absolutely scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Like, the ghosts and the concept of the ghosts really freaked me out. How you can't really see them unless you're wearing the glasses, and the ghosts were so well designed and so disturbing. Like, I remember specifically the jackal, that ghost. I think that's the one with the cage thing on its head. That one used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. Just the whole idea of that. And so it really just gave me the creeps as a kid. Looking back on it now, it's kind of ridiculous and over the top, and it's not nearly as scary. I mean, it's not scary to me at all anymore, but I still have a good time with it, and it's definitely a really nice kind of cozy movie that I love putting on like a really dark, kind of windy, cold, rainy night. Like last night was. So it's a really good time. Like I said, it's kind of it's become sort of one of my cozy movies just for that nostalgia. Same thing with Ghost Ship, which I'd like to talk about that movie too at some point. I actually watched those back to back last night. So I'm going to read the plot synopsis of this. I have the Scream Factory Blu-ray, which actually has. I know I said in my Black Christmas video that that's probably my favorite Scream Factory artwork, but this one is damn close. Like, I love the artwork that they did for this release. It looks so good. And I even like the original artwork that was on like the VHS and the DVD. That's probably what I'll use for this actual review. But I just wanted to shout out. I love Scream Factory, big, huge Shout and Scream Factory fan. And this artwork just it looks great. Anyway, I'm gonna read the back of this. The plot synopsis is kind of long, so what a house! It's all steel and glass and elegance. And it all belongs to Arthur Criticos and his family as an unexpected inheritance. You could say it's their dream home, especially if the dreams are nightmares. Awesome ectoplasmic specters populate 13 Ghosts, an effects rampant remake of the 1960 William Castle haunted house film from producers Gilbert Alder, Joel Silver, and Robert Zemeckis, who conjured up the equally terrorific House on Haunted Hill in 1999. Tony Shalhoub leads a cast that includes Embeth Davidtz, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth, Raw Digga, and F. Murray Abraham. The house itself is a design marvel and a mysterious puzzle cube whose eerie corridors, sliding walls, spinning floors, and phantasmic fiends may allow no escape. So that's a very wordy plot synopsis. And like it was saying on the back, the cast in this movie is a really big, kind of big name cast, especially for the early 2000s. So, of course, Tony Shalhoub of Monk, that's kind of probably his most famous role. He's in this film. He's kind of our main character. He's the dad. And, of course, Shannon Elizabeth, who we just recently saw in Jack Frost, the review I did a couple weeks back, who ironically is in also from Scary Movie, which is funny because I think Scary Movie 2 actually parodies 13 Ghosts. So I thought that was kind of fun. She's not in Scary Movie 2, but I just thought that was kind of a funny connection. And then, of course, F. Murray Abraham is in this movie. He's been in all kinds of shit. I love him. He plays a really good bad guy, especially in this movie. He's very intimidating, and he's a complete asshole. And then the one and only Matthew Lillard, who has been in so much shit over the years. Love Matthew Lillard, and he's really great in this movie too. He's really funny, and he's sort of your comic relief without being comic relief. Him and the babysitter Maggie, I believe her name is. They're kind of your sort of comedic relief in this movie. And this movie does kind of have a little bit of a sort of a goofy, kind of funny tone in it. But like, I remember watching the special features and they were like saying, it was really hard not to make it funny. You know what I mean? Like, they were trying to make it as scary as they could without making it too funny. But I think it's a really good balance. It just has that early 2000s kind of vibe to it, and it works really well for this movie. Some movies not so much. Like I said, I kind of have that love-hate relationship with a lot of these early 2000s horror films, but this is one that I definitely think it kind of works for. Maybe that's for nostalgic purposes, I don't know, but like I said, this is one I grew up with, so I will always kind of come back to this, and it doesn't really bother me as much as it does with some other things. So this movie kind of starts off with Tony Shalhoub, his character. I think that's how you say. I think it's Shalhoub is how you say his name. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But it kind of starts off with his character, and he's a single father. His wife has passed away some months prior, and he basically finds out that his uncle has died and has left him this house as his inheritance. Like, he meets this kind of shady lawyer character who seems nice on the surface, but we find out more about him later. So he basically, the lawyer brings his family, or this family, to the house, which is him, of course, his son, daughter, and then the sort of nanny babysitter, Maggie. And they get to this gorgeous, breathtaking, beautiful house, and it's pretty much made of all glass. With this strange kind of writing all over the windows. It truly is all glass, but it's just this gorgeous, beautiful, amazing house. And when they get there, Matthew Lillard is there, and he's saying, he's the power guy. He needs to come in and check some breakers. So Tony Shalhoub's like, yeah, come on in, while we do this paperwork. And, again, they're just kind of looking around the house, and he's going to fill out this paperwork with with this lawyer. And so they go in. So Matthew Lillard goes down into the basement, and he basically sees down there that there are these kind of containment cubes. And inside all of these cubes, which are, these glass rooms, with the same kind of writing on there, he sees that there are these trapped, these ghosts that Cyrus, the uncle, F. Murray Abraham, has captured, because the uncle was a collector. He collected all kinds of rare, crazy things, and one of the things he collected were all these ghosts. And he sees them through these glasses that he has. Like, you have to put on the kind of like They Live, sort of. But you have to put on these glasses and you can see them. And so he sees all these. He goes upstairs and he basically tells, tell Tony Shalhoub's character that they have got to get out of the house because there's ghosts there. And of course, they don't believe him. They find out that he used to work for Tony Shalhoub's dead uncle, has like a medium or whatever helping him capture these ghosts, but he didn't think that he was keeping them. And that's when the lawyer kind of slips away, and he goes down into the basement, and they're both kind of there to kind of get this stash of money that the uncle had kind of left behind. And when the lawyer goes down there, he grabs the bag of money, or this suitcase of money, and he activates like this mechanism, and that's when shit starts to fall apart. So the house kind of lights up. This thing in the floor kind of starts to spin, and it starts to release all the ghosts. And the lawyer is actually killed in a very really cool kind of way. He gets like split in half, or not even split in half, like split like. I don't even know what you would say. I'm going to show a picture of it if I can find one, but he's kind of, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but he's like, this pane of glass comes at him from the side, and he's just split like right down the middle of his body, and the two halves kind of slide down, and it's a very cool looking effect. And so the ghosts start getting loose, and they start wandering around the house, and the house kind of locks down. The family gets separated, and they have to go find the son, Bobby. Bobby goes missing, and I believe at this point Kathy has gone missing. Yes, they encounter one of the ghosts in the basement, and Kathy is separated as well. So they have to go, and he's trying to find his kids, and they end up running into this other woman that is just magically in the house, which that will be explained a little bit later. And so when they find this woman, she says that she's basically there to undo everything that Cyrus has done. She's there to free all of the spirits and get them out of the house, and set their souls free. So she explains to them that Cyrus, again, he built this whole house It's like a mechanism. It's like this satanic thing made by the devil, and he's been working on it for years and years and years, and he needs these 13 souls to activate this mechanism that the entire house truly is. So I'm going to talk about the ghosts a little bit now, because this is really where we kind of get that explanation of them. So she has this book, which is, I think it's called like the Black Zodiac or something like that, and she lists them in order. I'm probably not going to get the order right. I'm going to do well just to remember the names of all the ghosts. But basically, there are 12 ghosts here. So there is the dire mother and the great child, which are like this really short old woman and this really big guy dressed like a baby, pretty much. Very, very disturbing looking. You get the bound woman. She is kind of this woman in a dress who's been she's all kind of tied up or whatever. You get the pilgrimess, which is a really creepy looking ghost. The firstborn son, which is like this child. You get the torso, which is literally a headless torso that kind of crawls around. That's really creepy when you see it. The torn prince, who is this kind of young guy with a baseball bat, and he's kind of got his face is kind of messed up. You get the angry princess, which is this girl who kind of wanders around naked, and I believe she died of suicide is her whole thing. The hammer, which is this big guy with a bunch of like railroad spikes all stabbed through him. The Juggernaut, which is this big, tall, kind of creepy looking dude, who's just this big, strong fucking thing. And then the Jackal, which really, again, is probably the creepiest of the bunch. It's definitely my favorite, and has some of the best scenes in this movie, and is, like I said, the most disturbing out of all of them. It freaks me out the most. And then, of course, the Withered Lover, which happens to be Tony Shalhoub's late wife. So even her soul is trapped here in this house. So if you were counting while I was going through that, that's actually 12. And Tony Shalhoub, his character is supposed to be the 13th ghost. So we find out that Cyrus is still alive at one point or another, and he's kind of working with this woman. And he is supposed to be this last ghost who is supposed to sacrifice himself out of love. So basically the plan is that they are going to trap his kids in this kind of mechanism that's going to, looks like it's going to kill them. He is going to sacrifice himself for their lives. These ghosts are so well designed. They're so creepy. They're just, again, they used to freak me out so much as a kid. Just the whole concept of kind of what's going on in this, I always just found so disturbing. Just seeing all of them. And so pretty much what happens is Tony Shalhoub finds out that Cyrus is still alive, and he kind of just kicks the shit out of him. Cyrus is killed in the end, and Tony Shalhoub is able to save his children, and they leave the house, and the souls are set free, and they go off and wander about their way into the night, which is also, again, that was kind of a disturbing thought for me as a kid, because I'm like, oh my God, all these evil, horrifying spirits are loose in the world. And yeah, I mean, that's 13 ghosts pretty much summed up. I did skip a few things like, because if you haven't seen this movie, I definitely think you should go check this out, especially if you're a fan of this kind of early 2000s horror. But, if that's not really your thing, if you don't really like that era of horror films, which I can understand why somebody wouldn't care for it, it's not really going to be your thing. But it's a fun time. I would highly recommend it to pretty much anyone, because it's just, again, it's kind of one of my cozy movies. It's one of the better of the Dark Castle Entertainment films, because some of them are really kind of hit and miss for me, especially. like I said, I really like this one. I like Ghost Ship. It's just a nice kind of cozy movie for me. House on Haunted Hill is fun. Maybe I'll talk about those two at some point. I definitely want to talk about Ghost Ship. House of Wax is okay. I'm not super crazy about House of Wax, but those are just kind of some that I really remember that really stand out to me growing up. That I remember watching all the time. It was stuff that my parents were really checking out, and at the time they really freaked me out, as a kid. Really truly disturbed me. But looking back on them now as an adult, they don't really have that same kind of impact. I just think that they are, especially this one, is just a very fun kind of short sort of haunted house film that you can kind of go through in like an hour and 30 minutes, because like I said, it's fairly short, and just kind of have a good time with it. If you want to check this out and you haven't seen it, it is on Tubi. And another thing I meant to say too is about the ghosts. I highly recommend checking out this Blu-ray, or I think it's even on the DVD. But if you like the ghosts, like all the lore that they kind of put with the ghosts, there is on the special features you can actually look up and read about actually I think it's like a little short. So this narrator kind of tells you sort of the backstory of all the ghosts, which is really cool. And I'd heard rumors that at one point there was supposed to be a show about all of each individual ghost. I don't know if anything is actually going to come of that, or if that ship is kind of sailed. I definitely don't think it would have the same charm that this original movie does, because it's got that, like I said, that kind of early 2000s vibe to it that really works well for this particular movie. So I don't know. I don't know if I would like that or not. I guess I would just have to see it. But until then, I really like to just, I'm kind of one of those people where I prefer some stuff to just be kind of given to you in bits and pieces, rather than just somebody flat out telling you exactly what's going on. That's just me. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get that at some point. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this review. This is probably going to be the last one of the year for me, for real this time, because we are coming up on the new year. And I've got a lot of other stuff that I want to talk about after the new year that I have planned. I just don't know where I'm going to start. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope everyone has a great, happy new year, had a great holiday. And until next time, have a great night and goodbye.